What's up guys, Levi here, and welcome to the weekly music review. So, in terms of releases this week, there wasn't really that much that grabbed my attention. You obviously had the releases of the new Electric Callboy album, Northlane dropped a new song this week as well, and John Carpenter, who did the soundtrack for Halloween and The Fog and films like that, he dropped an album this week as well. There was a release from 21 Pilots as well, but that was just a live album, so I think I'm gonna skip that one. But yeah, we'll get right into it. So we'll start with the new Northlane track. So Northlane have released a new single called Cut It. It's from the new album Anemia. I hope I pronounced that right. It's due to drop in just under 3 months. But yeah, I like the opening riff. It was kind of a heavy one. It was kind of preceded by a bit of an electronica style of music. Something that I found to sound a bit like The Prodigy, like their earlier stuff anyway. But the thing with Northlane is that I do love the heavy elements mixed with the sort of electronic side of the band as well. So with Evian, I really did enjoy that song. I thought it was a nice, well, I thought it was a good sort of, EDM sort of dance type song that had heavy bits tacked onto it as well. And as far as my Northlane journey goes so far, I've only heard these last two singles and I've heard the entire Obsidian album, which I think is really good. The thing with this song is, though, I feel like the chorus is just a little bit eh. Yeah, I think the chorus could have definitely been like a little bit stronger, but at the end of the day, it's not to take away from, how decent of a song this song is, which overall, I think the song is just decent. I do think that Evian was a lot better. There's still going to be, what, about 8 or 9 more tracks on this album, so hopefully. The thing with singles is that bands tend to release the singles that are kind of more accessible to music fans, whereas I'm one of those people. I tend to prefer songs that weren't released as singles on the album. I don't know if it's because I like overplay these singles up until the album comes out, or if sometimes some of the songs that weren't released as singles are actually the stronger ones. But I've only got Evian and Obsidian to compare this to, and overall, I just think that those two projects were a lot better. But it'll be exciting to see what Northlane do going forward, especially as somebody that's just gotten into the band as well. So it'll be exciting to actually listen to a full project like as it's being released. But yeah, overall, Northlane cut it. Thought it was just a decent song. And yeah, coming up next, we've got Electric Callboy with Tanzneid. Now, Electric Callboy for me are one of those bands that are just, they're so fun to listen to and watch their music videos. Like, you can tell that the band are like very serious about what they do, but at the same time, they just love to have fun with it. But the album opens up with the title track, Tanzneid, and I think it's a strong album opener. Definitely seems to be leaning more into the EDM side of things, and the breakdown definitely is serviceable, but I think that the build up to the breakdown was better than what the breakdown actually was. Like I did like the whole EDM dance type of build up, but I definitely think that the music video it enhances the listening experience, as with most Electric Callboy music videos, because it's just so fun not only to hear what's being, said and played, but it's also so fun to hear not hear, but see what ideas they're coming up with for their music videos. Because you got things like Hyper Hyper, which was very much like a very fun music video. You've got Hurricane, which was a play on German Schlager that ended with a zombie type attack. techno train with them being on a train. Having a music video to accompany their songs really sells the songs for me. When I initially heard it, though, I wasn't big on it. I just thought that, it's just okay. But after a few more listens to it, it definitely did grow on me, and it's definitely one of the strongest songs on this album. We then get to Ratata, which they did in collaboration with Baby Metal. The opening to the song, it was kind of like, We Got the Moves, kind of like introduction to it. Nico then using his highs is an always welcome thing. The chorus to the song, though, is definitely one of the strongest on this album, especially like with the pre-chorus where you've got Baby Metal doing the whole rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and then Kevin doing sort of like the more backing but harsh vocals to that bit as well. But I just think that Baby Metal fit in so well with this song now. I'm not the biggest Baby Metal fan. I do like a few of their songs, but overall, I'm just not very big on them. But the way that they and Electric Callboy meshed together on this song was just so well done. And it's one of those things like you hear that Baby Metal are doing a collaboration with Electric Callboy, and you're just like, yes, this actually makes sense. I think that Baby Metal's part of the song when they did the second verse, I thought that was really good. And I like that in the second chorus you could hear Nico as well as Baby Metal doing the chorus. And I thought the breakdown was a very good one. I like that Baby Metal were doing the and then you've got Kevin screaming and the breakdown going on sort of like around that. I thought that was really cool. But overall, I think it was a very fun song. I think it's still an enjoyable one to say that I think it's over 2 years old now, this song. And again, the music video just enhances the listening to this song. Seeing Kevin and Nico just jumping through the walls like the Kool-Aid man from Family Guy, narrated basically by Rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I just think it's such a cool song. I think the video for it is so cool as well. And yeah, the next song on the album is Hypercharged. Now, I didn't hear this one till the album came out, so I heard one of their singles and then I missed this one and Let the Good Times Roll. I think I missed Still Waiting as well. When I realized that I'd missed a few of their songs, it was like maybe like 2 weeks till the album came out. So I thought, you know what, I might as well just wait until the album comes out so that I can hear these songs in like the context of the album for the first time, as opposed to just listening to it and then you get to that bit on the album, it's like, oh cool, it's this one then. It's one of those issues, like I think that a lot of bands, they release like way too many singles nowadays before the album comes out. Now I kind of grew up with bands releasing like 3, maybe 4 singles before an album came out. It seems like nowadays that a lot of bands, they just kind of drip feed their music up until the album comes out, and then you've only got about a handful of songs to listen to left. I think if I'd have listened to all the singles before this album came out, I think I'd have only had like 2 or 3 songs that I hadn't heard before. Then you've got the remixes as well. So I thought I'd just leave the songs that I hadn't listened to yet until the album came out, and just to listen to it, in the context of the album instead. I thought the first verse though was very repetitive, but I did think the chorus was a pretty strong one. Breakdown was a little bit meh to me. Overall, I just felt it was just an okay song. I don't think that this is one of those songs where if I think to myself, I want to listen to Electric Callboy, I don't think I'm going to think about this song. We've got Let the Good Times Roll next, which is featuring The Offspring. Now, I haven't heard The Offspring in years. I used to listen to them all the time when I was a kid and they were on Kerrang. You had Pretty Fly for a White Guy and Why Don't You Get a Job and stuff like that. So I was quite intrigued to see what they could bring to an Electric Callboy song. Again, I didn't hear this one until the album came out because I just wanted to listen to this one in the context, within the context of the album. It feels very early 2000s like. It felt very much like the sort of music that I kind of grew up with. And it also had that kind of like summertime feeling as well. I think the Offspring's contribution, it definitely felt right. I liked the chorus which they contributed to. And I like that in the build up to the breakdown, they did the whole uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, cinco, seis from Pretty Fly for a White Guy. I like the reference there. And I thought that the breakdown, it was more of like a funky type of breakdown, which I thought was pretty cool. But overall, I really did like this song. I thought that this song was definitely one of the stronger ones on this album. For the remainder of summer, I feel like this is kind of like a really good song to play. Next up, we have Elevator Operator, which I heard a very long time ago at this point. I liked that they had this sort of EDM sound, dance sound before it kind of got into the heavier bits. I think that the elevator operator himself, every time he came on the screen, he just had like this such a grand presentation, like he was just oozing aura, which I thought just fits so well for a band like Electric Callboy. Like only Electric Callboy could do a song about how cool an elevator operator is. They could literally write a song about anything and it would just work. Electric Callboy just have this way of just writing some of the most batshit things, but making it work and actually making a very good cohesive song out of it as well, which I think is really cool. I heard that this was based on on like an interaction that the band had with this elevator operator. I think it was either I think it might have been at the House of Blues when they were doing a show, and they met this elevator operator, and they thought that he was just so cool, so that they decided to write a song about an elevator operator, which again I think is just really cool. I did like the Blade kind of soundtrack section to the song where they get to the nightclub. Blade was the first thing that came to my head when they got to the nightclub. I was just like, this is really cool. The heavier bit is definitely serviceable as well. The whole heavier bit after the Blade type of music bit, and then the breakdown as well. I loved how they made it sound like a football chant. You know, the da 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 da. Like I thought that was so cool, and again, it just shows that the band they can definitely have fun with their music, and I think that's one of the most. I think that's one of the most redeeming qualities of this band is that yeah, they make music that's funny. They make music that makes people laugh. It kind of sounds silly, but it just works. And it just makes the whole experience of listening to this band just so much more enjoyable. But you know that behind the scenes that they're definitely serious about what they're doing. But overall, Elevator Operator is such a good song. Next, we've got Heart Club. Now, this is one of the heavier songs on the album. Again, I didn't hear this one till it came out. I think this was one of the songs that wasn't released as a single. It definitely shows that this band can do metalcore. Like they want to have fun with their music, but if they wanted to, they could do like a really good metalcore song that could compete with the likes of some of the better metalcore bands out there. But I just think the band overall, they just seem to prefer being this more fun type of band. The bridge was very good. It kind of gave me like Linkin Park vibes. Which I think Nico on a couple of occasions has kind of been compared to Chester. And yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. The breakdown to it as well, it was a very strong breakdown. Overall, I thought this song was really good. If I kind of want to listen to a bit more of a serious Electric Callboy song, this is definitely one of the ones that I would listen to. The Way You Are, already touched up on this on my previous weekly music review, so I'll give a bit of a quick overview of it. Backstreet Boys sort of intro suit the style very well. They could literally just dip into any genre of music and I think it would work. The overall lyrics are kind of dark when it talks about, you know, eating people and whatnot, and the heavy bit still slaps. And Nico's Moan, even though I've listened to this song like a number of times at this point, it still makes me laugh. Still Waiting. So, again, this was one of the songs I didn't hear until the album came out. Now, I do like the original. I do like Sum 41. It was another band that I grew up on. It was one of those very like early 2000s sorts of bands. You had like American Pie as well to thank for, you know, making this band, you know, a lot bigger to me anyway, because I used to watch American Pie when I was a kid, which is a bit of a choice. But Yeah, I do like the original. I think that the original is a lot better than this one, but it doesn't take away from Electric Callboy's take on it. I think that they made it kind of heavier in some bits and it actually kind of worked. But yeah, it just kind of made me think about the fact that, this was a song I grew up with and now it's being covered like all these years later. And I worked out that I think I was like 7 years old when this song came out, and it just made me feel very old. I think I'm getting to that point now where my age is starting to show a little bit. Um, and also, I've got to say that the drum performance on that song was done very well. Wink, wink. Obviously, the new Electric Callboy drummer is Frank Zamo, who was in Sum 41. So I think the idea of this song as well, it came from when Sum 41 had to drop out of an appearance somewhere, and I think Electric Callboy kind of filled in for them or something like that, and they covered this song, and it eventually made its way to the album. They got Frank to join the band as well, because I think Sum 41 disbanded, I want to say last year. But yeah, it's a good nod to their new drummer. It's a good nod to a very good band. And also, you could probably look at it as a bit of a tribute to the band as well, since they're, not a thing anymore. Next up, we have The Savior, which was, again, I think this was a song that wasn't released as a single. The intro riff felt very like kind of 80s metal to me. Transitions into this kind of like EDM electronic beat, which I thought was really cool. Again, with Electric Callboy, their way of meshing genres in the way they do is just, it's just awesome. Like, it's kind of insane at times how cool it is when they transition from this like electronic dance EDM type beat to this just heavy riff. I think that it's just so cool. I think again with this song, the bridge definitely was the best part. And overall, I think the song was a really good song. Now we have the album close off with original tracks at Reverie. So Reverie, I listened to this song for the first time when it came out, and I just wasn't sold on it. But it was one of those songs, it did grow on me. As I learned more about the song, it just kind of made more sense to me. And like upon re-listening to it, I was like, I get it now. Which again is why I don't want to be too critical of like reviewing songs for the first time, because it might just take a few listens for it to just click with you. Overall, I just think that some of the other tracks on this album were definitely a lot stronger than this one. I did like the story. I heard that it was about one of the band's kids was telling them about a nightmare, and they just decided to write a song about it, which I think is really cool. But yeah, overall, it's a good song. I think it's might need to take a few more listens for it to like really grow on me and become like maybe one of my favorite songs, or maybe it's just going to be a bit of a serviceable song for me. I don't know. And then we finish off with the remixes. I've decided to just lump all these into one because we've kind of heard these things before, but it's just like a new spin on it, essentially. They're okay, but if I want to listen to We Got the Moves, I think I'd rather just listen to the original version. I don't know if they just lumped a couple of remixes onto this album just to flesh it out a bit, because I think before the remixes, the album was just shy of 40 minutes long. But the thing is sometimes bands don't need to release an album that's like over an hour long with songs that like last 6 minutes, for example. Like sometimes a short and sweet album can be a bit more of an enjoyable listening experience. It can be an easier listening experience for a lot of people. But overall, I do like that they were included on the album. But overall, I just think that they were okay. Overall, I did like the album, though. It did show that the band still has a very fun take on the genre of music that they're doing. Whilst releasing some more of the serious songs like Heart Club, Let the Good Times Roll, and The Savior as well. If I was to give any criticism to this album, and this is a little bit of a stretch for me because I think that the highs of this album really do speak for itself, but if I was to give any sort of criticism, there just seemed to be like a lack of songs that had that sense of a serious tone and emotion to them. Okay, Reverie might be the closest when you kind of hear the story behind it, but if I was to compare it to the previous album, that previous album, it had Mind Reader, which I do love and I still listen to quite a lot to this day. It had Neon, which, was a very like kind of serious song as well, which again I still listen to this day. Like those two songs are what like those two songs are some of my favorite from the band. It's not to take away though from what the band achieved with this album though, because I do love the fact that the band just has like so much fun with what they do. I was introduced to this band through the song Hurricane. As somebody that has never like dabbled into sort of Schlager music before, it was a bit of an experience. And you get the breakdown and then the zombies start attacking and just like, whoa, that song just instantly sold me on them, like it just sold me on the fact that this band is one of those bands they want to have fun whilst also releasing good music. You have songs on this album as well, such as Ratata, The Way You Are, and Elevator Operator, which definitely keeps the fun side to this band. It definitely keeps them fun for me. It keeps that feeling alive for me, that this band is just such a fun band to listen to. In a world of streaming on certain platforms, I would recommend that if anybody was to listen to this album for the first time, definitely do it through YouTube, watch the music videos because it's just going to enhance the listening experience so much more for you and it's going to get a few laughs out of you. But the way that Electric Callboy just uses music videos to enhance the listening experience, enhance what they're singing, it's just something that a lot of bands don't do. The only band that I can really say does anything sort of similar to that is Ice Nine Kills, that do music videos based on the horror films that they're singing about. But overall, the tracks I would most likely come back to this album to listen to are Tanzneid, Heart Club, and Elevator Operator. The Way You Are being a very close fourth. The songs that I'm least likely to come back to this album for, if I literally had to give a song or two, it would be the remixes. I think everything they did, like as new material, I thought was really good. And I think some of the songs that maybe I'm not so sold on just yet, I think definitely have the chance to grow on me. But it's not to take away from those remixes because I do think the remixes are still some really solid tracks. But yeah, overall, I would give this album an 85%, which I think it's very good. I think that Techno Train was a lot better of an album, but I still like that the band is having fun with what they're doing, and I still like the fact that they're releasing good music as well. Like they've not gone like too far where them having fun is sort of taking away from anything. And going forward, I'm excited to see what else they're going to do. I saw last night that they've been announced for Bloodstock, which is awesome. Bloodstock's a very sort of like niche music festival. When I was growing up, it was always like the heaviest of heavy bands were the bands that were going to be there. And to see Electric Callboy there, I think is awesome. And I think that they're going to make a lot of new fans from that festival. I just know they are. Like, a lot of the people that are going to be going to Bloodstock next year are going to have such a blast watching them live. Hopefully, I get to see them live as well someday because from what I've seen and what I've heard, they put on such a good live show. But yeah, that's Tanzneid by Electric Callboy. And I just wanted to finish this weekly music review off by talking about the new John Carpenter project. Now, yeah, I don't think there's any lyrics on this album that I can remember anyway. I've only listened to it once so far. But John Carpenter for me is very much it's a big part of my life. Now, I know that might be a bit cringy and corny and a bit cheesy to say, but my introduction to John Carpenter was the Halloween series. And the Halloween series is one of my favorite series of all time. And then he did films like The Fog, and he did films like Christine and They Live. And he's done soundtracks for all these films as well, which I really do enjoy the soundtracks. Like, especially at Halloween time, like I'll find myself listening to a lot of his soundtracks because I just think he has a way with music which is, really strong. With the most recent Blumhouse Halloween trilogy, I think that the soundtracks were definitely one of the highlights of those films. And with Cody Carpenter and Daniel Davies, I think that he's definitely found like his stride now within releasing his own music outside of filmmaking. So this album, Cathedral, is definitely a very good album. It's a very strong album. It's got no lyrics. I think there might be a bit in there where they just play like a sample of something, or like they play a bit where someone's kind of like narrating something. But if you're into like 80s metal, if you're into gothic metal, like Paradise Lost, for example, like kind of earlier Paradise Lost, I'm talking like Draconian times, or if you just like horror overall, I think you should definitely give this one a listen. I think it's such a good album. It's something that you can just put on in the background and it's still quite an enjoyable thing to listen to. Like, if I was in uni still, I could probably listen to that sort of music while studying, for example. But because there's like no vocals or anything on this album, like I thought I would just kind of like lump a whole review in together instead of going track by track with it. But if anything, I would definitely recommend to listen to this album, especially with it coming up to the Halloween season as well. And yeah, that's pretty much everything now for this installment of the weekly review series. If anybody has any thoughts, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.